All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So I've been using the MacBook Pro 14-inch, the M1 Pro model for a little over a week now. And I wanted to give you my follow-up on it, my thoughts on it after a week. So there's always questions about new products that come out. And I purchased this and, and even if Apple would have sent it to me, I think my results probably would still be the same. If you're looking for a laptop or just a computer replacement and you're into video creation, or you need a powerhouse device and you want something reliable, first of all, that is Apple. Apple's computers are reliable. The computers are just reliable, period. So I want to start off by saying that I can humbly tell you that this device is one of the best laptops, if not the best computer I've used for creation and just in general. The build quality on it is absolutely great. And I just think it's one that you should get. Now we're going to talk about some pros and cons here. So sit back, relax, and we'll get into this video real fast. So this is not the way I normally use this. But if I do need to travel or something like that, I'll probably just take this. The M1 Air that I had bought, it's still good. I highly recommend it. The performance and power are more on here, but as far as exporting my files, I've seen a 3 to 7 minute increase depending on what I'm doing from this to the M1 Air. From the M1 Air, and then my Mac Mini was a little bit less because the Mac Mini has the fans and it's a better setup than the M1 Air MacBook, I would say, but the M1 Air was about 3 to 5 minutes, maybe somewhere between there. So basically, I'm looking at, for my workflow, at least 3 minutes faster than what I was doing before. And when you're doing a lot of videos like I do, now I don't have a lot of heavy duty workflow type projects, but sometimes I do. And when I do, I genuinely need to be on something that is going to be powerful enough. So let me switch to widescreen real quick and I'll show you how I actually use this. All right, now I keep my MacBook Pro up on a laptop stand, and it sits about right here on my desk. Now I do have a new desk. I have a new motorized standing desk. I got this a while back. I showed it to members only. If you're not a member on the channel, you might want to subscribe to be a member to see all of the content that I put out. But for now, I'm just showing it to you this way. You've probably noticed in some of my current videos that I have a new actual wood desk. It's a much prettier, beautiful color. And this is a motorized standing desk. Now, actually, to start this video, I was actually standing. I got a little tired, fatigued, so I sat down. That's because I've been standing all day. But this is where I use this. And I actually haven't been taking it out of the office like I thought. But I will, because I'm not traveling right now. But this is how I normally have it. I have it up on a laptop stand here. And then I have the Type-C cable going in. And I'll go ahead and plug up the Type-C cable real quick, just so you can see how I really use this. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. This is how I really use it. And I'll adjust here. Let me pause and adjust to show you here. And this is my real current view that I'm at most of the time. I always kind of put this over here. And then obviously I have the Logitech Black Mac version of this mouse here. This is like the best mouse ever. I really like this mouse. And then I'm gonna show you my keyboard I use for when I have it closed. Well, I use the keyboard and mouse a lot, but when I have this closed and plugged into power, I just use this one monitor. This is the 4K 28-inch Dell monitor that I have. I've had this for several years. It still works like brand new. And it's just good. Now, the reason I'm using this one instead of my curved 144 hertz Dell monitor is because that one is a little bit bigger and it swings around and it's a lot thicker and heavier. But let me get my keyboard and mouse and I'll show you, or trackpad, and I'll show you the rest of the setup. Now, this is how I do all the typing pretty much on here when I'm at this desk. But when I'm away, the MacBook keyboard is absolutely fantastic, folks. It's backlit. I really like it. It's just a really solid keyboard. But you know, when I'm here at the desk a lot of the times, and I want a full size keyboard. I have this Apple keyboard that I bought with my iMac, folks, like 5, 6 years ago. I don't know how long it's been. This thing is banged up, but it still works, still holds a charge. Everything is great. And also, this is the same trackpad. I don't believe in just buying accessories that are very expensive and not using them to the fullest. So yeah, I genuinely use these same old products because they work. That is how I do it. And obviously the desk setup here, I've got these new speakers, and I have the monitor mounted on the lifting stand back, you know, that kind of mounts to it. And then above that, there's another bracket right here that's going all the way up and around to my microphone that goes above us. When you're recording video, you want to have your mic above you, above your head. So you can get the bass and tones in your voice. And you also want to have a good microphone. So the JLab Talk Pro is now my favorite microphone. It is just one of the best, folks, and I highly recommend it. So this is how I have my workflow going. And these speakers, again, are hooked wirelessly, and there's no latency or anything like that from the MacBook. And I genuinely have it like this every day. Overall, this is how I use it every day. Now, when it comes to editing, I right now I've been basically using iMovie because iMovie is enough, folks. And I always put it over here on the bigger monitor, even though this monitor is more than enough. This monitor is more than enough to edit with. It genuinely is. Like the default monitor on the MacBook itself, it's more than enough. So this is a workflow that I was doing here. Let me tilt up a little bit more. So this is the iPad Mini 6 video that obviously I edited here. And in my timeline here, the most I'm doing is 4K 60. And you can see the audio, everything here. You know, I always do a voiceover, or I use a separate recording source. Some people don't do that. Or I use the JLab Talk Pro and hook it directly into the camera, or I'll do it separately. And also you need to have two sources going for your audio, because if one goes out, then you're stuck like Chuck. So this is my, again, my iPad Mini 6 video that I edited here. And this video is only about 10 minutes, maybe. Let me see here. Yes, just under 10 minutes. But when you're editing something, you want your timeline. These are 4K clips here. So, and I don't shoot in RAW. I don't like to do any kind of color grading. Just so you know, folks, you can do, like when I'm not on, I was using Final Cut Pro, right? And then I realized I don't really need Final Cut Pro, but it was too late at that point. So, you know, I just use iMovie when I'm on a Mac or a iPad or something, or just an Apple product. And then when I'm on a Windows computer, if in fact I do use one, I'll actually use Sony Vegas Pro. So I think that's really good. It doesn't flow as good as the processing power behind the M1 Pro. Now, some are labeling this as the base model of this actual computer. And I guess if you want to call it a low end version, I just know that this thing is powerful. And while it is the most affordable of them all, it's still going to run you $2,000. Now, I've already gone over why mine was under $700. You know, I sold my Mac Mini back to them, and then I sold an old Intel back to them. And then with all my corporate and government discounts, this was well under $700 for this computer. So if you're thinking about doing that, I recommend that you go ahead and sell your Mac Mini back to them if you have an M1, depending on which one you have. I think they'll probably give you up to $600. I got $520 for my year-old Mac Mini that didn't cost me $500. So it was a win for me. But nonetheless, this is the timeline. Now, some people who are doing this right here, they're doing stress tests, and you genuinely can have a ton of stuff open with the MacBook Pro 14. Again, the base model. This is the M1 Pro version. So if you want to be able to turn on the higher power, you need the M1 Max. That's what you need. And you go into settings, and you go into battery, And then you'll have an option here under power adapter, and you will see high power mode or something like that. So if you feel like you're going to need, I was talking to Grant S too, because he has the 16-inch version of this, but he also has this M1 Pro version. So if you feel like you're going to need that extra really, like if you're producing some really, and Grant's videos are intense, he does a lot of work. And I told him, I said, you definitely should go with the M1 Max because his exports times, you know, they're like mine. They're not as, his workflow is changed, but not to his standard. And I'll leave that for him to discuss in his own video. Yeah, I'll leave that to that. He's got his view on it, and I can't wait to see his follow-up, or if he even does a video on it. But I think the M1 Pro for a person at my level, you know, 3 to 5 minutes or 3 to 7 minutes is a huge jump in export time from if you're doing a lot of stuff. Now, this video may not look like a bunch, but these are these are 4K files that are big files. And so, you know, when you scrub through the timeline here, it's just no lag, no anything. And my Mac Mini would overheat, it would shut off. And we're talking about base model versus base model. Now, some people are telling people, if you're going to keep this, go for the 32 gig version, or you know, upgrade your RAM to 32 gigs and wait it out and wait for it to come. Yeah, I don't think the more RAM you have, obviously you're going to have less issues, but it doesn't mean that you won't have any issues at all. Some people feel that if you load up your RAM, you're just going to have no problems in the future. Well, no device is future-proof, folks. It's just impossible. Everything keeps changing, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. So I always start with the base model of devices just to see how it's going to fill me out for my workflow. And when I got the Mac Mini M1, I was super impressed. But I used to have the Mac Mini shut off on me. It even shut off on me during a live stream. I was super embarrassed. But having this base model, and I'm giving you like real world, this is how I do it, because this is my video that I shot for the Mac Mini. You know, you're going to see an increase in performance, like as far as your exports go, because that's really where you want to see the change. At least if you create a lot of content, you want your timeline not to be slow, and you want to be able to scrub your timeline and really get the feel of what your video is going to look like real time. And this will play back real time here. Let me mute the sound out. If you just look here, you can see it's going to play back real time, and I'm going to scrub up a little bit here. So this is playing back these big 4K files stacked on top of each other, and it's not having any problems. So Jay, did you have any problems before? It's not that I had problems before. It just wasn't as fluid as this. It wasn't as smooth, and it played back my 4K files. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit on the video and say, no, it was stuttering. It wasn't stuttering. My M1 wasn't. But for me, the performance increase and boost came for exports. And then it is playing these files like flawlessly through here, these 4K files being stacked. It's playing them, you know, with no problems. And so I think this is kind of a realistic approach to it, I guess, to show you that you can edit and get some improvements on your timeline or whatever. But it's going to come down to way too many factors. So again, I've noticed that my export times are much faster. And then I've also noticed that I'm really enjoying how smooth my flow is when editing. So let me switch views and I'll be right back. So this video really is for people who are on the fence about whether or not they should actually even buy this device. And I can tell you this, if you have an M1 MacBook Pro or an M1 MacBook Air, or just any of those, if you're looking for like these super like 15-minute differences or 10-minute differences, this one probably won't give you those kind of export times. But again, it depends on what you're doing. But after using this for just a little over a week, I've literally noticed that my export times are about 3 minutes, regularly about 3 minutes faster, closer to more of them are 3 minutes faster on the export. And there are some times where it's a lot faster, maybe closer to that 5 minutes, but that's rare, if I'm being honest. So some people are going to look at it money wise and say, well, this isn't worth me to change out my MacBook, and it's just not worth me giving up my M1. And I don't disagree. If you're content with the M1 and you think it's a good, and you like how your flow is, don't switch. Don't do it. Stay with what's working for you. But for me, I was getting this regardless of what the export times were. I wanted the power, and I wanted a new MacBook that could get me away from my Mac Mini. I was tired of being at this desk permanently. That was my reasoning for buying this. Well, one of the reasons for buying this, I wanted to be portable with power, and not with the MacBook M1 Air. I wanted a little bit more. And I guess I got what I paid for. I got just a little bit more, but those minutes, it's like in a street race, 0 to 60, 1 second is 1 second. You know what I mean? So if there's people out there that are wondering, should they buy the M1 Pro? I'm always going to recommend that you do that before you jump out there and go like max out, because I looked at, and let me do it real time here for you. I looked at the SSDs on both. And I talked to, I think it was Viper I talked to. Hold on, let me zoom a little bit here. See if I can zoom. Can I zoom? Yeah, there we go. I talked to Viper, and I asked him during I think it was during a stream or something like that. I said, what are your read-write speeds on Blackmagic Design? And, he told me his max was just a little bit more than mine. And he has an M1 Max. And I'm not trying to deter people from buying the M1 Max. But I'm just saying my speeds, my top was 57, I think it was. I was 57 over here and 49 or something over here. And his was really close to that. It was really close to that. So the M1, I mean, look at all these green checks, folks. It just doesn't get any better than this is exceeding power. There's hardly any computers from Windows can do this. And if they can, they're really expensive. And that's just it. Zoom out here. So it's going to take for you to make your mind up on what you think is a good buy when it comes to the MacBook Pro 14. This is a little bit of a lengthy video, but I wanted to cover just that because I think that's what people are doing. They're watching people do stress tests. And, those tests are real. You really can load this thing up and then still have a fantastic run with the computer. You can open up a billion things on here, just not literally, but you can open up a lot of things on here and still have a powerful flowing machine, something you just can't do on a lot of laptops. And one positive note is that when Apple claimed that off of the charger you can edit, it's totally true. I only plug in when the battery's dead. I'm editing all of this on battery. And as far as charging time goes, I'm using the default brick with the MagSafe. I'm using this 67 watt one. This is it. I'm using this right here with the MagSafe that came with it, and it charges really fast. I haven't timed it, but it does charge really fast. So it's up to you to determine what you think is fast. Less than 2 hours, I believe this is back to 100. Because I've let it go down to like 20% or 10. One time I let it go to like 5%, and then I came back in under an hour and a half, close to an hour, and it was back at 100. So I don't know when it stopped, because that's just the truth. I don't sit and monitor, and I haven't done a timer or whatever, but I can tell you that it fast charges really fast with the 67 watt. And so imagine those people who have 104 watt or 97 watt or 96 watt or whatever it is. So you pick and choose what you want to do with it, but I'm telling you, the battery is fantastic on here and it charges really fast. The keyboard, if you don't have an external keyboard like me, you're just going to be using this right here only with no monitors and all that stuff. This keyboard is great, and the trackpad is very responsive. It is really good. No issues whatsoever. Now, as far as the cutout goes at the top, folks, I don't even see that, I guess. Some people are really making a big deal out of it, saying, oh, Apple did you wrong. You wasted your money. Okay, sorry if you feel that way, but I'm using it, and I know how this is beneficial to me. So I I don't even notice this. It's so weird because I was watching, I think, Jenna's video, and she was like, I'm almost programmed with my iPhone, so I don't even notice that. It's normal. And I guess that just makes sense. And now I regularly use an iPhone, but I'm not programmed, I guess I'll say. But I don't notice it because when you open certain things, it goes away. Like when you're watching videos, that bar is covered. And if you really wanted to get really crazy, just put a black wallpaper on it, you know? And my initial impressions of this, I was oohing and awing about the beautiful screen. Those days, that's over with. I'm using it now. I'm regularly using this. This is basically currently my only machine that I'm using right now. And I want to use this for several years to come because I know that for where I'm at, I'll be able to continue this type of workflow. So I wanted to do a realistic, just sit down and chat with you of how this is actually being used in the office. And like I said, you know, new desks, you probably saw I've gotten rid of both my other desks. I'm down to one beautiful standing desk. Oh, it's a motorized. It's so beautiful. But I just feel like this is a great setup for me. I love being wireless pretty much if I want to. And then plugging in a bigger monitor if I need one. I've seen some people say the 16-inch is the way to go just because of the screen. I don't think so. I think you can save that extra $500 and then just get you a 4K or 5K monitor or something, you know. You can definitely get a 4K monitor. You can get a 1080p monitor. I just prefer to have a 4K monitor. But you can get any monitor and a keyboard. There you go right there. So you could probably get you a monitor, a keyboard and mouse of your choice, and another microphone and some speakers with that $500. You definitely can. But speaking of microphones, I do a lot of voiceovers with this machine right here because the 3 microphone array or whatever it is on here is absolutely fantastic. It picks up the tones in my voice. It just does it all. And it's just great, man. This is just a powerhouse and I love it in every way. I guess the only complaint though that I could possibly have is the price. Some people don't get the discounts that I get. They don't get all the perks and stuff that some of us have. And so that's kind of the downside, you know. If you don't get the perks, you're not going to think this is such a good deal. You're going to say, well, Jay, that's $2,000 and I can't afford to pay $2,000. And I get it. I understand. But you know, this is a expensive piece of hardware and it's an expensive machine. And that's just what it is. And some people have also, before I get out of here, complained about, oh, you're getting excited about ports. They finally brought the ports back. You got played. I don't pay attention to any of that. I like MagSafe. It's much stronger than the other one. Let me put it on here and show you what I'm talking about. It is strong. If you remember the old MagSafe, this one is really strong, man. Like it's going to take some, it takes some to get this off. Yeah. So that's really good. And you have a headphone jack, which is that's on my Mac Mini that I gave up as well. And this time I got more ports on this thing that makes it more portable. So the ports there, two there, and then the 3 over here, the SD card slot and another port and the full-size HDMI. So the thing about the SD card slot, now I was watching a young gentleman's video, and he talked about his SD card's reader, something being wrong with it. And I was like, what? He's saying that he transfers files and they transfer really slow. So then he has to put it in a dongle to transfer his footage. It was just a 30 gig file and it took him 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an SD card real quick and grab a file and I'll transfer it real time for you. I'll also do a Type C as well. So let's move the iPad Mini out of the way. Man, I love the iPad Mini 6. Oh my gosh. It's nice, folks. So this is actually the same brand that the young gentleman was using. The SanDisk, he was using this same card right here. So I'm going to plug it in here. I'm going to go ahead and move up to some more powerful SD cards now that this one is I'm just loving this one. So it reads the SD card. As you can see, it popped up right there. And then I'm going to open it up here. I'm just going to go to DMC. No, you know, let's go back over here to private since this is I got some Sony stuff on here. I might. Yeah. All right. So let's go file size. So here's a 3 gig video and let me just start a timer. Well, I guess it'll show it right on here. I don't have to start a timer, but it'll show it right on here. So I'm just going to drag this to the desktop. And this SD card, folks, is old. So this is less than a minute for this 3 gigs. He was transferring 27 gigs and it froze. It just stopped. And he was saying, I don't know if I have a bad unit. I would say it's something wrong with your card, because the truth is this card right here, for some reason, won't go into my Sony. You know, that's why I'm using it on my Canon. So I had to buy a Sony card to work in my Sony, because all of a sudden my SanDisk stopped working. So to me, that was about a minute, or so, right? I guess it was about a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to create a folder. Let's just go test. And I'm going to drag over several things. I'm going to drag over that 3 gig file, this 900, and this 600, and this 500. And I'm just going to see, because this SD card, also this is an old SD card, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start a stopwatch on here. And I'm just going to sit it right there. And then I'm just going to drag it over to that test folder. And then I want to test the difference in, this is 6 gigs and it still says about a minute. I'm going to test, doing the same thing with the thumb drive that's type C. And then, you should see the difference in performance, because this is a slower SD card too. So it says this 6.23 gigs will take approximately a minute. I think it's going to take longer than a minute, but hey, because the SD card, you're going to need to get an SD card that's actually a class 10 or a class 30. Those where you get the real performance. But these old SanDisk cards, this card right here is easily 3 to 4 years old. Easy, but it's still going. It still works. And I don't want to trash it just because, I feel like, oh, I need to buy something because I'm transferring to a Mac. Nah, I'm not going to do that. Nope. So it's about 10, it's roughly, it's almost right on. So like I said, I think it's going to be over a minute. So I'll stop it when it does stop. So 1 minute and 5 seconds is what it took to transfer that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll just leave that there for now. I'm going to eject this. And then again, this card is beat up, and look, it's even cracked on the back right here. You see that it's cracked and chipped over here, but it just won't work on my Sony for that reason. Now, I definitely have some files on here. So I'm going to plug in, and then this will load up. And then I'm going to pull some things off of here as well. Let's see if I can find some stuff. Let's go size. Okay, so here's some things you've got. Okay, so I'll just do these top 2 because that's going to be roughly 6 gigs. So remember that was 1 minute and 5 seconds, basically 1 minute and 6 seconds with that old 3 to 4 year old SD card. And then now let's look at doing the same about 6 gigs here. And let's do the bottom one. So that's 2.2 gigs and 4.1 gigs. And let's drop it in that same folder, but this time it's through type C. And let's see if there's a difference. So this says less than a minute. And you see the difference here with something that's type C. And it's already halfway done in 10 seconds. So that just goes to show the SD card is beneficial. But, hey, if you're going to do something through type C, it's obviously going to be faster. So stop. 18 seconds for 6 gigs over type C. And then this old card right here is 1 minute and 6 seconds. So I have one more card, and it's going to be my Sony card, which is a lot faster than this card. This card right here, I believe, is 150 max. I think the Sony is 152, but let's get it here. Let's eject that. And then I'll finish up and I will get you out of here. Okay, I lied. The Sony that I got is double. This is 70 write and 270 read. And this one's 150 on, I think we'll check it out. That one doesn't have both on there, but this is my Sony that I got. And I'm going to go ahead and put this SD card in just so I can test different SD cards to show you that Sony card. I had to get that for my Sony camera. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna go to clip, and we're gonna try to grab 6 gigs worth of files. Ooh, so I've got 3.2 and 3.4. Let's go with the 1.78, and we'll go with the 3.4. That should do it. That's going to be this roughly. So let's go ahead and drop these over and hit start. There we go. So already you see a lot difference in this newer Sony card than this old card right here. And see, that's why I said I think it's his card, because he's using this old card, and he said I had to put it in a dongle. And I'm not trying to call him out. I'm not even saying his name, you know what I'm saying? But point is, it was definitely that card. So the Sony card did it just as fast as my Type-C. There you go. So if you're looking to export and import things, you know, these SSDs read really fast, folks, and it is totally worth it to get the MacBook Pro 14, in my opinion. Come on, buddy. I always forget that combination. Oh, it's right here. To delete instantly, you go Shift, Option, Command, Delete, and that way you don't have to re-click and all that stuff, or right-click. But there you have it, man. This is pretty much identical in speed for getting things off of the cards. So it just goes to show that having the SD card is beneficial with the MacBook Pro. And then if you have Thunderbolt or Type-C, I mean, it's going to be just as fast as a fast card. So I'm going to go ahead and get more SD cards that are bigger, so I don't have to worry about, you know, the slower pulling in speeds, because this is actually the card that I use the most because it's a 256 gig and I can record longer and things like that. But that Sony card is just the same speed as my Type-C thumb drive. So folks, a very long, a very detailed conversation about the MacBook Pro 14. If I didn't cover something in here, you're feel free to leave it down below, leave a question down below. But I kind of wanted to give you my real setup and how I'm really using this and how it really benefits me. And like I said, for me, that 3 to 5 minutes is worth it. It's just worth it to me. So if you are on the fence still about buying this, and you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I just really shouldn't do it. Don't do it, folks. Don't talk yourself into something. Make sure it's something that you really want to do. And you know, really think it through, because I'm not going to sit on camera and tell you that it's chump change to kick out $2,000. Yes, I get all these huge discounts, but I guess one could say I earned them. So, and I'm still kicking down cash like everybody else. So, yeah, the desk wasn't free. I had to buy this desk. It's $300+. And we bought 2 of them, one for her, one for me. So, you know, this is a good setup. If you want to have the 14-inch, you can take, instead of buying that, if you don't have to get, to me, you don't have to get all the extra memory. You don't have to get the storage. I have the 512 gig SSD in here with the 6. This is just a base model, and the 8-core, 10-core. Some people worry about that. Depending on where you are in your workflow with YouTube, you should in fact be able to use this particular. And you'll see a lot of people on YouTube saying it was wrong with the crazy thumbnails. I was wrong about the 14. Buy the 14. Just look at the 14 base model first before you do anything. Even if people are telling you, well, you need the real estate, I would say take that extra money and buy a monitor, keyboard, get you a really nice desk setup first. But it's up to you. It's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is probably one of the longest videos I've ever done, but sometimes you just have a lot to say and you want to show a whole bunch, and that's what happened in this video right here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And again, if you're thinking about getting this and you have something to sell, but if you have a Mac Mini, sell it back to Apple right now and buy one of these. If you're thinking about getting one of these, don't keep your Mac Mini, because this is way better than the Mac Mini in my opinion. And then if you have an old Intel a MacBook, definitely sell that back to them. You should get at least $500 for that Intel, depending on the model. So, all right, now I'm really going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys staying around for this 45-minute video probably. I don't even know, but I'll see you in the next one. Take care.